Hi Virgo. You might hear some movement going on. My neighbors are moving. And that also makes sense as to why your reading is now, because you're in a very weird place, some of you. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just odd. And it's because there's something changing in all of us, and you feel it too, and now you realize how much of a decision it is, how much of a lifestyle it can become. You guys are in a really interesting place right now, so I'm curious myself to see what comes out in the cards. Usually when it takes a minute, there's something really specific that needs to come out. The Six of Cups. All right. Libra, our Justice card. The Tower, Two of Swords, and Two of Cups. So either something from the past or something that is new yet feels old, feels familiar. This relationship to this person, it could be a Libra, but it also could just be someone you met maybe in Libra season, which was a couple months ago, and it caused a big shift. For some of you, very specifically, it caused a shift from you might have been overthinking in that time. So this is interesting. It's kind of like a past card. It's like you need this reflection. You may have been overthinking, you may have been, which is not unnatural for your kind. Not to be so general, but it is what it is, right? So whatever you're overthinking or overindulging in an active way or a non-active way, it doesn't matter, whatever that was, wherever the extreme was in that time, caused a big mental shift for you. It's possible that this relationship, not only with, it could have been your relationship with a person, but it's also about the way that you, how do I put this? It's also the way that you go about making decisions, like what it's based off of. And understanding that not everyone, of course, doesn't see the things the way that you see them, and you can understand that, but this is in terms of a relationship for most of you. So it's deciding that, are you able, some of you are wanting to take the next step or the next level, like you're beyond that beginning phase of this relationship and you're just not sure. But you just kind of have to sit back and wait. That question will be answered for you very soon, probably once Venus goes retrograde in Capricorn by the end of the month, most likely. But more than ever, whatever happened in those few months ago, in that time, where everyone was really put in a position of relationships, and it was like a boot camp. I don't, like, now reflecting, I'm like, holy shit. But that's like a big part of our future. And so this commitment is almost a deeper one to yourself. Yours is more of very much a focus on the spiritual nature this month. And I know it's not always your favorite thing, especially when some of you might be avoiding some things. Though it's going to bring a lot of, the change that you need. Or maybe it's the change you think you need, or you don't even realize you need. I know. Okay. Well, that was a lot of cards. Well, let's read them. And it has to do with, naturally, your worth. Maybe where you were put. Now you're thinking, okay, I know where I came from. I know where I want to go. But do you have what it takes to get there? Or is it possible for you to get there? Or are you there and don't even realize you're there? And what's being offered to you is through a shift in your external world that then goes to affect what you've been thinking about lately. And the only way you're going to get the answer you're looking for is through rest, because it's just not going to do anyone any good, and it's only going to bring you back to yourself anyway, and working on yourself anyway. So you can avoid it, or you can face it. You know, either way is Sagittarian, so, and either way you're gonna get to where you need to go. So the difference is what's become how you do things, how you even if it's not in the best way, you're still doing it, right? So when you're avoiding something, you're communicating that you can't handle it, take responsibility for it, take accountability for it, whatever the thing is, whether even if it's just about you. And that's what you're having this conversation about with your own energy and your own environment and whatever environment you work in, right? So, and then if you choose to face it, then that's what you're communicating, that you're able and you're strong enough, and that it's possible. So the other thing that goes along with it, which is also very Libra season, is that it just came in the right time. Like, you needed this change to happen because it made you more aware of yourself now. And now you're being brought up against this, maybe this wall or whatever you want to call it. And it's time for you to understand that it's a part of this process for you, that for most of us it's a never-ending thing. So it's about not looking towards an ending of something, but it could be a beginning of more of what you want. The only way to get that is to act upon it. And now you have to, because you're being presented the opportunities, and if you miss them this month, you are probably not going to be happy with yourself next month. Next month is Capricorn season, and if you don't, just the way it hits you, yeah. You know when they say it's easier to spiral down than to spiral up? That's what I want you to think about. I know. And if you're gonna be a fool, do it on your own terms. Okay? Some of you also may be getting out of a cycle of giving your energy to the wrong person or people. You might realize and recognize a cycle in that as well. I would be careful about being around people during that time if you're not feeling your best. Just the words that can come out will be swords lit on fire. So there's that. So you basically just really need a mental break because you're processing a lot. And I know it's easier said than done, but that's what you need, and that's what this is about. So it's avoid it or face it this month, Virgo. All right. In the second part, we will take a look at the cards. And yeah, we'll see. Hi, Virgo. So there might be a new beginning with someone from your past, but there is also a lot of realizations from the past couple months, pretty big ones. They really move your thoughts or what's held you back and what's been stuck on your mind. Whether you were admitting it, talking about it or not, there's been something on your mind for a while, and now you understand, and you go from the Two of Swords to the Two of Cups. You understand why there are certain things about yourself that you couldn't commit to, which which was maybe the connection between other people that you were missing. You're learning to rely on timing and also the longevity of what you're going for now. There's a couple different ways you can go from here. There's a lot going on. There might be people or a specific person, maybe someone that you're romantically involved with, that has a major influence over you. And by maybe mid-month, maybe even now, you start to see what used to work and what isn't working anymore. That something, the communication is lacking somewhere. And we're going to go into the Venus retrograde by the end of the month. So it's kind of like a foreshadowing. And the advice through the cards and what the cards are saying is to surrender, to like choose to face what that is about, maybe that person, why you maybe don't value them the same, or you don't, there's just not that extra, maybe you're just not seeing something about them, right? Because he's turned away from her. But this also could be that there's something from your past that's coming back and you need to face it in order to heal it. You need to face it in order to put it to rest. You need to face it in order to get it off your mind. Maybe what's on your mind is linked to that and you just haven't been connecting the two. And it stops this fight in your head, and it gets you to work. So this month is more about the emotional work, that aspect, And by the end of the month, everything will become a lot clearer. It's just this month is kind of making you face what you haven't been really wanting to deal with in this way yet. You knew this was coming. It's not that you didn't. But it'll set you on a very less interrupted future, I should say. But it's like you have to see the things, you have to understand that sometimes things just don't work the same. That sometimes, just like you need at different times, different people need different things, and maybe you need something different. And now you're like, okay, I get what I need now in order to make this real change. It's already happening. It's like, roll with it now. Doesn't mean it's not hard or painful or uncomfortable. It just means it's different. But this month is very exciting. Also be careful with your words. If you are around people and you're hurting, you could hurt yourself by saying some things you don't really mean. And that's important to remember. And then also show yourself, much lighter by the end of the month. A lot starts to clear up. And you start working on a different part of you that have been, but you start to focus there and you realize that was all just needed to get out of the way in order to get back to it. Sometimes the past is important. All right. I hope you have a great rest of your month. Again, all the information to work with me is below. Sorry if this was a little crooked, I just noticed. And I'll see you next month.